Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at our bulk piles. Maybe bulk pile's not the right word. Maybe instead it's time to go and have a look at our old binders. Some old cards we've got lying around. Because a lot of Pokemon have gotten a bit weird in the past couple of years. And now I think we can start adding on Level X's there. Some of these Level X's are getting, frankly, very, very silly. Now, we don't have a huge amount of data going on here, I'm going to be honest with you. The number of sales of old cards like Level X's are, well, it's just not that many being sold all the time, is there? But I think we've got enough to start seeing a little bit of a pattern. Take Gengar Level X, for instance. Now, to be fair, Gengar Level X was a great card back in the day. It had a Pokepower that let you choose one of your opponent's Level X and remove the Level Up card, shuffle it into their deck. And one of the things to remember about Level X's were, they were basically an extra evolution stage. It wasn't technically evolution, but it was the same kind of deal. Put the card on top of your card. But you could only Level X if you were in the active. And that was very important, because things like Uxie, who we're going to go and have a look at in a moment, well, they would Level X, and then they would retreat to the bench and sit there for the rest of the game. So being able to basically get rid of Uxie and make your opponent have to get back into the active, oh, you better believe that was something we wanted to be doing. Love this. It also had a really fun attack, Compound Pain. For free energy, it did 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon that had any damage counters on it. But for instance, the regular Gengar from Arceus let you use Shadow Skip, 60 to the active, 10 to a bench, and Curse let you move a damage counter from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another. And Level X's retained the attacks and abilities of the cards under them. Oh, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, this was fun. This was a very, very, very nice card. More importantly, look what's happened to the price over the past, well, I would say year. Really, it's the past 5 months. Back in April, we were still rocking an $85 card. Now, apparently, it's a $240 card. And again, I'm going to remind you guys that there haven't been that many sales, that we are working on incomplete data here. But I have this card, ladies and gentlemen. And I kind of figured it was like a $20, $30 card. Because the thing to remember about Level X's were, they were like hits back in the day, but they were like the equivalent of like EXs or something like that. Maybe rarer than EXs. But the point is, you know, they weren't these kind of super uber rare cards. When you bought a box, I forget the exact pull rate, but it feels like you'd get kind of a couple in a box. They were good pulls, but they weren't the kind of pulls where you were like, whoa, I got a Level X. Well, maybe you're a kid, which I was, but, you know, you would be excited. But they weren't these stunning, ridiculous uber pulls like some of the big special illustration rares are nowadays. As an example. Now they've gotten silly. And let's be clear, this is a frankly very, very silly amount of money for a Gengar Level X. However, that's where we are. Hang on a second, Wassy. You're only showing us the graph from TCG Player. What about something like eBay? Here we go. Here's 2 listings in a row. One for $300, one for $225. Hang on a second, Wassy. You're showing us listings. That doesn't mean people are actually paying that amount of money now, does it? You're just showing us listings to try and make us believe it's more expensive. Well, depends where you're going. Like, here is a Gengar Level X that sold for $220. And then a Beckett 7 that sold for $380. And then one that sold for $175. Do remember, with older cards, the condition is going to be a lot more variable. When you're only looking at brand new cards, you kind of think everything is either completely mint or with tiny imperfections. With older cards, that's not the case. You can find one that sold relatively recently for $70. To put it bluntly, the condition here is kind of bad, honestly. So yes, one sold for 70. This one is far from mint, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you can see on the picture there, all along the top, especially in the top right-hand corner. It's not looking great. I'm going to be honest with you. It is not looking great. So, yes, it really is about that level. Is this all level X's? It's not all level X's, but we are starting to get up there. Might not surprise you that one of the other big ones around right now is Charizard G. That one, if we go a year ago, was about 150. It's now up to about 170. Hang on a second, Wassy. How come the Charizard Level X hasn't gone up by that same amount? Oh, that one's quite simple. It was already quite high. Whereas the Gengar was hanging on at a moderately cheap price, the Charizard absolutely was not. Worth pointing out as well that the Charizard Level X is a lot less playable. And for some of the old cards, playability becomes a genuine factor because people want them for old decks. That's really important. So you got to bear that in mind. People actually do want to be picking these up so that they can then play them in their old decks. That is a genuine thing that actually happens. Well, how are we doing for Charizard Level X over on eBay? Well, this one's a little bit harder to figure out because there was a promo version and because there's no near mints that have been sold in the past, 3 weeks. But here's an 8.5, which is not like some kind of super minty grade, that was from CGC, who are not one of the top 2 grading companies, that went for $325. People are desperate for good condition versions of these old cards. There was one that was listed as mint that about a month ago sold for, best offer accepted on $130. But it's eBay. Mint doesn't necessarily seem mint. It looked like a decent copy, don't get me wrong. And that was still $130. Bearing in mind, these are just regular level X's. These aren't these super ridiculous, awesome rare cards we see nowadays. How about Snorlax Level X, one of my favorites? Now, according to TCG Player right now, it's $190, but I'm not going to show you the graph because the graph is kind of pointless, honestly. But have a look at the last 3 sales. Moderately played, $220. Moderately played, $200. Moderately played, $230. Oh, yeah. The graph, ladies and gentlemen, is not helping us, but the recent sales absolutely are. And again, if we go and have a look over on eBay, we're going to see a similar kind of thing. Last 2 solds were about 120 and about 240. And no, that's not some kind of hang on a second, how did one sell for double the other? Again, we can't zoom in too far and show you all the data. We don't need to zoom in to see the damage on the top of that Snorlax. It is not well looked after, whereas a 240 is a lot better. And we're looking at these old level X's. $240 for a Snorlax. About $240 for a Gengar. Some of these are getting kind of ridiculous. And the funny thing is, Gengar was kind of playable, but not the best level X. Snorlax wasn't that playable. If you take something like Uxie, for instance, well, that one's selling for, last 3 sales are lightly played for 90 or damaged for 45. Hang on a second. That seems a bit weird. And the answer is, people don't like Uxie as much as they like Snorlax and Gengar. Because I guarantee if you are a player who enjoys playing old formats, you've got a Uxie Level X lying around. There is also, and this is a genuine point here, if you are the kind of person that's buying Level X's for old decks, you're probably not buying your Uxie here. You probably had your Uxie back when it was a lot cheaper. Or you just have it from back in the day. because, well, it's got trade-off. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and the other on the bottom of your deck. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. No issues here. This is just an absolutely busted card. And I'm not saying there aren't bargains left to be had. I just went and looked at some sales of Level X's over on eBay just generally. Rhyperior sold for $20. And Blaziken, that was very playable back in the day, sold for $30. And the promo Lucario, not the regular print, the promo print, sold for $13. If you want just random Level X's, they are absolutely out there. But some of them are starting to jump up in price quite considerably. And this is something we need to be keeping a little bit of an eye on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying it's all of them, but I'm saying it's enough of them that I've had to look up and gone, hang on a second, things are looking a little bit weird. I mean, even Flygon, which, now to be fair, Flygon was kind of playable and moderately popular, but it was not exactly the giant heavy hitter, and that's apparently a $70 or $90 card right now for Flygon. I'm just saying, there's things going on here. And the other point, which I think is very important, and if you're watching this video and you're still watching at this point, here's your little nugget for you. If there's a Level X that you've been waiting to pick up for a little while, that you've just been kind of holding fire on, might I suggest now might be a good time to go and pick it up. If it's a decent price right now, I am not saying it's going to become massively expensive in the near future. This isn't investment advice or anything stupid like that. What I'm saying is, some of these are starting to get quite expensive. If you've been holding off on picking up a Level X you particularly want, if you can find it for a decent price, I would think about getting it now. And certainly I'm starting to look at some of these old Level X's and going, well, might be time to start picking these up. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this in the comment section. Have you got these Level X's lying around? Thankfully, I do have some of these lying around. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Evan Parker, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.